Okay. Welcome to Science of Sound, where we engage in the observation, experimentation, and study our journey to create music, featuring interviews and discussions with all walks of life worldwide, including musicians, builders of musical instruments, other musical gear and software, lovers of all forms of musical sounds, and everything in between. I'm your host, Cody Lane, and today we are in sunny, cold, and beautiful Missoula, Montana at Rattlesnake Cable Company. Sitting across from me is the handsome and talented Hank Donovan, who is the founder, owner, and one of the builders on this amazing team of his. Welcome.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me here. It's really cool. So it's sunny today. I'm glad.
It is.
And I was just telling you guys earlier that it's always nice to be back in Montana. All my family's from there. I didn't get the honor of getting to grow up in Montana. It was all of my childhood was in Spokane, East Washington.
Nice.
And we're all from Butte and Livingston, or Butte, Montana. Butte, Montana. So you were, as I understand it, you were born in Billings and you lived all over. How was your life growing up as a musician, artist, and builder in Montana?
I mean, it has its challenges. I mean, as far as just being in Montana in general, it's always difficult to really get out there on anything that you want to do. You know, musically, it's just hard to get out until the internet. You know, the internet changed everything. But yeah, it was always a challenge, especially like high school. You know, those are tough times.
Hard to do bands, hard to find bandmates, people to jam with.
Oh yeah. I mean, now it's just the amount of musicians are, you know, everyone's playing, so that's really great.
And you started playing guitar in '89.
Yeah,
that's what I heard on your interview with High Gain.
Oh, right on.
So who inspired your inspiration to go and start playing music and getting into gear?
It always comes down to Robert Smith, The Cure.
Yeah,
that was the first band I really admired as far as just getting into music, like trying to understand like why I like it, instead of just like, oh wow, this rocks, you know. Before that was Eddie Van Halen, so that was the very first time. Rest in peace. Yep. I remember in the 80s calling a guitar store because I found out it was a Kramer that he played, and that was the first step. Like, I want to get a Kramer, and I'll paint it and put the lines on it and all that. But that's where it just kind of stopped, because it was aesthetically, I just wanted the cool guitar and I wanted to be Eddie. But when Robert Smith and The Cure, that was where I was like, I want to make music like this. That was different. It had nothing to do with the guitar or you know, the aesthetics of it. It was the motion of music. Yeah,
I always called that hockey stick style for the headstock on Eddie's guitar.
Oh yeah.
Is Robert Smith still around?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Scary looking though.
I admire it.
So I wanted to kind of hand it over to you to introduce us, the people, to how you got into building cables, how you started the company, when you started it, and how that whole experience went about for you.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, just like anyone's journey in life, there's always kind of weird little turns and pivots that you don't really realize until you look backwards and you go, wow, that was a lot of moves that actually happened to make those decisions. When you look back, it all makes sense. But at the time, you know, it just never really felt like it was going to go into a direction where one day I was like, oh, we're going to make cables. So it all started, oddly enough, with robots. So I made little robots called beam robots. They're very simple circuits, basically autonomous robots that just have circuitry, like they follow light, they move, there's no programming, and just simply, they're called junk bots too. You can make them out of old tape decks, and so you grab the motor out and you put a capacitor on it, put a little solar disc on it, and it charges the capacitor and it releases it, and then it moves, and then it does it again, and just keeps doing it. So it's kind of like weird little personalities, and you can have all sorts of different styles of beam robots. And that is what started the first time I bought a soldering iron. So I wanted to do that. And then really fast after that, I immediately said, I want to make pedals and make cool stuff for my guitar. And that is where we start going into the journey of like musical gear. So pedals were super fun. I really enjoyed making those, just kits and just trying to make just DIY sets. I was even like etching circuit boards and doing all that with like laser printer and all that, and ferric acid. Super fun. And then eventually went to cables, and because I wanted to replace my cables because I had one that was super old, and started making my own cables. And immediately bandmates and friends of bandmates said, I want one too, so that was the first thing where I'm like, oh, maybe this could be a thing. And then I remember sitting on the bed with my wife on the computer, and I'm laying there, and I was like, I think maybe I want to try making a business and we can sell cables. So it was like literally just this one sentence, and Amy's like, yeah, that sounds fun. And that's the seed that was planted, where I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Or, what are the first steps? Who would buy them? All that stuff. So, and from there, it's just been a journey to like grow and get better and get more customers. It's just been a nonstop grind.
So going back to when you got into building pedals, I'm assuming that there wasn't a lot of things around like BYOC. For me, I got into building pedals when Build Your Own Clone came around. Again, the internet helping with a lot of those resources being around. Did you have anything online or offline that was giving you a lot of the knowledge to go and tweak circuits or try to make your own?
Yeah, BYOC was around. I never bought one though. It was a DIY stomp box forum, if I remember right.
Okay.
That was like the first place where we were doing a Vero board. My very first pedal was a ZVEX Super Hard-On clone, right? So that was all on a Vero board, real small, probably 8 components on that whole thing.
Yeah.
That was the very first pedal I made. I just remember like it was a miracle. Like when I turned it on, it worked and it did what it was supposed to do. And I was like, wow, it's such a trip to solder these things and they actually do what I was expecting it to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And then from there, I was doing breadboard stuff. So I had to have a breadboard and just working on circuits I'd find on that forum. And if I can figure out how to make a circuit board out of it, then I was doing with the etching and all that. But then later I got into like, BYOC and GGG, General Guitar Gadgets, and get little circuit boards from there and modify them. So I would do like big muffs a lot because there's like, 5 different versions or 6 different versions, and you can, make a hybrid of two different versions and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you made the signal test kit. I'm sure if that's exactly what you're calling it. I bought one of those.
Audio probe?
Yeah,
maybe?
audio probe.
Yep.
So you made the audio probe, and I think that's one of the greatest things to make available to people, especially for an affordable price, because that's going to get people curious to go on the same path. They actually have something to go and do circuit bending on weird old toys, or try to make actual pedals. I remember when I tried to do my first attempt at circuit bending, I just would find whatever wire it could, and it just wasn't quite the setup I wanted to really get through and find and experiment, and then also be able to like kind of remember and then make that permanent to the changes I wanted. And I wish I would have had that audio probe then. So that one is definitely one of my favorite products I've ever had from you. I know it's not a cable, but that's also what I love about Rattlesnake, is that you guys don't just have cables. So with that, you actually have an amazing selection, and you offer the ability to customize. Again, a few of which I love. I have 2 instrument cables from you. Most definitely taking advantage of your snakehead angled version and also straight. Love the tough weave on those too. Tell me about the differences between. Okay, I'm Joe Schmo coming on your website. We talked about this earlier. You're coming on there. You see a standard cable, a snakehead cable, and a pedal steel cable. Even though
Yeah.
Joe Schmo might just be very confused and just overwhelmed, and I'm wondering, okay, where do I start? Which one should I get? What's the best one to get of what Hank offers? Where do I go? So what's the difference to those? And
Well, a standard, the way I look at it is it has weaving from plug-in to plug-in, so it's fully weaved. A snakehead has weaving left off on one end of the cable, short by 19 inches. That's snakehead here, is this one.
Okay, so this whole area here.
Yeah, it's just bare
got the
PVC.
weave.
Some people think we're adding something there. We're taking something off. So that's nice if you like to run the cable between the strap and your instrument body, and you don't want the weave touching your body at all. You know, if you got thin nitro or a vintage guitar, you don't want any of that rough weave on there.
Yeah.
Then you just have the PVC.
It's more flexible. Seems more flexible than the weave.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's a cosmetic change, right? So there's a functionality there, but it's not wrong to have a standard coming out of your guitar. So, and you can run a snakehead from your pedal board to your amp. So that's not bad either. So it's definitely just more of a what you're comfortable with touching your guitar body. If there's some issues, if you want it to be flexible, all that stuff.
Okay. Then the standard, it doesn't have that. It has the weave all the way end to end.
Correct. Yeah. So that gives you maximum protection. So usually it's great to have a standard on pedal board to amp if it's on the stage the whole way. That gives you the max protection that way. And a pedal steel is the same as a standard, except it's 3 feet, and it was designed originally for pedal steel users going from the pedal steel to the volume pedal. It's just kind of an ideal length for that. So a combo would be a pedal steel cable going to a volume pedal and a standard going to an amp for a steel player.
Yeah. So and you're customizing that, so it's a fast forward for the pedal steel users that
Correct.
Immediately go right there. What length will you not touch?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I mean, normally a guitar player really knows they're in the pocket of what they want for length. So, you're talking about long length?
I mean, so of course I'm sure you've done all the way up to 20, but there are weird people that are like, oh, maybe 30, 40, 50.
The longest ones we typically do, or not, and we don't typically do it, it's pretty rare, is like 50 feet. For an unbalanced instrument cable, that's you're pushing it.
And what do you have to do to help that signal as you gain that length?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your setup. So, if you have active pickups, that's a whole different conversation. If you have, vintage single coils versus humbucker, that's a different high gain amp versus a combo clean quiet amp. That's another discussion. So there's a lot of variables there that you can get away with. I mean, if you're playing with humbuckers and 50 feet of cable and you're playing with a full stack dimed out with massive crunch on it, that's not going to really hurt you, right? But you could put a buffer in line that would help boost the signal. And someone who really wants a long length, they should be using a DI with the balance.
And you make a buffer too.
We do make a buffer. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Cool. And then you had you also have, so you have the buffer, and is the buffer the same thing as the one that was intended to actually allow you to do 2 cables, so you're extending it even more for yourself?
Oh, that's a junction box.
Junction box.
Yeah, that's one I just call that as an emergency unit.
Yeah.
If you're a band and you go on tour and you're playing tiny little bars, and you're basically sitting on your amp, house shows, all that kind of stuff. And then on the middle of the tour, you got a big stage. You got like a festival for whatever reason. And then you got a back line. It's not even your amp. And it's 35 feet away from you. And you normally have a 20-foot cable going from your pedal board to your amp. Now it's like you either got to move your whole setup backwards, but you might have an extra cable and a junction box in your guitar case, and now you got a 40-foot cable to get you through that pinch.
Are there any differences in the technology between that?
The junction box is 100% passive.
Okay.
So you could use a buffer.
And the buffer is powered.
Yeah. So the problem is now you got to power it in the middle of the stage somewhere. So that's why a junction box is nice, because it's just passive, no power, just a coupler. In a pinch too, you could use a regular pedal and turn it off, and that acts as a junction box. But again, you got to power it somewhere in between.
Yeah. 50 feet the longest you've ever done?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always, people will ask, and I would always just like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, here are the issues. And, sometimes they have very good logic why they need to have it, and they got it all under control. So, but yeah, normally if someone wants a long cable, it's 20, 25. On the website, it's 20, but they can make a custom request at any point.
And that's just contacting you directly?
Yep.
Okay. So I met Amy, your wife.
Yep.
And then Max, who's working quietly in the background. So I know she helps you. Do your kids help with the business?
They used to help at some point, at different points of their, before they got jobs. So now my kids are getting old, and they're doing their own thing. So, at first when they were, 10 years old, they would help. Amy's like a major, I won't even say she helps. She's a major player in this business. I mean, I always jokingly call her the CEO of this thing, because it's her driving decisions are why we're anywhere. So I'm good at product development, and I'm good at like grinding and, and all of that. But she's the one that says, hey, what about getting a shop? Hey, what about hiring people? And, so it's like her, she's definitely CEO.
Yeah, I completely understand that too. Some time ago, when I was working for this smaller internet company, just getting whatever job I could, I remember them telling me about when they started that smaller business and it exploded. It couldn't have done what it did without having really someone that is specifically focusing on starting the business and then handing that over and trusting that someone else is better than you at running the business.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that you guys can balance each other.
We are super, super balanced, because I'm a very much a no person. He's like, we can't do that. We can't afford that. It's, impossible. She's very much patient and always nudging, like, yes, we can do this. We should do it. Mm-hmm. Think about it. And then she's always right. Like, every one of my no's where we've converted it to a yes, with her patiently like guiding that, has been a major game changer for the business. So, yeah.
So, sonically, what is the most common misunderstanding that you see with customers when it comes to them choosing the right cable? I'd really like to.
That's a tough question.
I like the emphasis on the sound. Like, do you have people rolling out with thinking they know exactly what they need? For me, I've had experiences being a product manager myself and project, and so there are many times when customers don't know what the hell they need. But sorry, I should be letting you. Well, pitch to me here.
To me, there's a lot of there's not a wrong answer to this, because it's really about, like the buffer is a perfect example. Like, someone will come up to me and is like, oh, do I need a buffer? I think I need a buffer. Yeah, should I get a buffer? And my thing is, when you need a buffer is when you actually know you need a buffer.
Yeah, what are you trying to solve?
If you think you need a buffer without really knowing that that's a problem, then you probably don't need a buffer.
Yeah.
Right. So I get to those kind of things, and I'll tell people, like, I could upsell buffers all day, but I don't. I'm gonna sit there and say, well, you might already have a buffer on board and you don't even know it.
Do you probe and?
Oh yeah. I'm always asking, like, what's the application? How are you using this? Because it's really, when someone asks me a question, I have to kind of see, like, what amp are you using? Like, what kind of music are you playing? It's like, there's all of these variables. And I think customers enjoy that, frankly, because they're, I'm trying to understand where they're coming from, and I want to help them make the right decision. Mm-hmm. But as far as like sonically saying, like, whoa, you got a 10 foot instead of 15 foot, there's not a wrong answer there. I go more about logistics. Like, is 10 foot going to be long enough to reach your beer at the amp? Or do you need to go?
Who the hell's putting beers on their amp?
Yeah, you never know. But there's all of those kind of things, as far as like, where do you need to go to the other side of the stage? What kind of stages are you playing? So there's that. Is this going to be studio only? You only want to have like a high quality cable for the studio, then maybe a 10-foot's great, but maybe you need a 20-footer, maybe you need a 25-footer going from here to there. So there's not really, like I don't scrunch my face and go, oh, that's the wrong move. Okay. That just customers write in a lot of that way just by automatically because they know what they require.
Cool. I think we should have a whiskey break. That's what I'm going to call it now. I think that's what I'm going to call this. You're my first victim for drinking on the show.
Okay.
But I got have you ever had Doc Swanson's?
Nope.
Doc Swinson's.
Oh. But it's got Doc in it, so it must be good for you.
It's a blender's cut. 3621, aged 5 years. Sounds delicious.
Cool.
It's got a little scientific beaker on there.
Nice.
Can Max have some?
If he wants.
Give you a little splash there. Whoop. Max, you want to grab a cup?
I gotta. I'm making cables. So
Okay.
straight.
Good answer.
Thanks.
That's why I asked the boss first. It's like, this might be awkward. Yeah, cheers, man.
Cool. Thank you.
To Montana and amazing cables. That's really good.
Cool.
Holy shit. I know you've never
Water back.
I know you don't smoke cigars, but man, that would go good with a cigar. Okay, so back on you. So there are different musician ears and setups, and which means different results. That it's never going to be the same. That's for the good and the bad. How do you approach this in your development, production, and testing phases for your products?
Well, I think always you got to start with the best signal possible, get into the amp. So that's always our focus, is the best quality wire, keeping the best signal. And the second part, I'm always looking at like durability for like bands that play out, right? So I'm always making sure this stuff can hold up, can take abuse. So that's always those are the two big checks no matter what it is.
Please tell me you made a robot to test the durability, the tensile strength.
No, I wish. That'd be sweet.
Okay, you can have that idea. It's free.
Okay.
I'm imagining this in my head. This cool closed behind a window. It's a robot. You just place the cable in it, and then it starts just doing shit to it.
1 million bends. Yeah.
That's legit.
Yeah,
does
maybe
that
one day.
not get you excited?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you? So I know that I'm gonna try not to get in trouble with you. So I know that you don't normally have people come here at the shop. Have you had any customers come in here and you sat down with them with their gear to hear what their problems were or what they were trying to achieve?
Not problems yet. I did at the house before we moved into the shop.
Yeah.
We'd have an issue, and I'd always tell them to bring everything. Sometimes they'll bring like a pedal board and there's like some weird hum or something like that, but they don't bring their amp or their guitar. So I always like, if that was the case today, I would say bring your whole rig. Let's hook it up. We've got to reproduce whatever the issue is that you're experiencing to determine if you need a new cable, or if it's a buffer, or if it's like isolate that you have a problem with a specific pedal in conjunction with, the amp, all those variables. But we've had people come here and we do pedal board setups. So they'll come in with a board and they just have their pedals laid out in the way that they like, but nothing's wired, and we'll kind of work through them that way.
You guys, do you ever consult for the actual boards that they should be using? Or do you just work, you're just like, okay, you need to bring in your board, your pedals, we'll do everything else?
Yeah. That doesn't happen very often. Yeah, I mean, it's a service that, we get asked for a lot, online. I've even had people like, I'll mail you our pedal board and you wire it up and send it back, So there's something we might want to go through at some point to do, but right now we don't do that. So really it's more local musicians that'll contact us and say, hey, I got a new board. I'm setting this up.
And they're bringing their own power supply. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you guys ever consider getting into are there better power chords, opportunities to make better power chords than what is out there?
Yeah, I mean that's going to be one of our moves this year. Is we're going to be the main power chord for your pedal boards, or are you talking about the individual little pedal power?
Well, that's a good question, a very good question, because I wasn't even asking about that, but I understand exactly what you're talking about, because with my last pedal board, I did actually order a custom kit that was this super big honking power cable to a little junction box thing on the side of my pedal board, and then that had I believe 3-prong ground so that I could plug my pedal board power supply into that.
Oh, gotcha.
Is from the wall to the start of that pedal board, is that what you're talking about? You're going to touch on?
That's probably what we're going to go into this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that thread on a power cable would be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sick. I might hit you up then.
Yeah.
When I get another band. I do not have one. So yeah, but I appreciate the comments about talking about what you do with people when they come in here. That I started getting another idea in my head that okay, so when you have people that are massively they're massively confused about what exactly they need. What is their issue? And so I also wanted to know if anyone ever comes in here and tries to work that out with you. Do you guys have a wide variety of gear that you're working with to test?
No, I when I usually test anything, it's with my own stuff. So it's that's
always good.
Yeah, that's the stuff that it's well, I know this stuff. So it's not about having, as many amps as possible and see how it goes, because I'm trying to figure out the best quality signal that's frequency that's compatible for any kind of response. So I'm not picking a bass responsive cable. I'm going to take, those kind of things where I'm very specific on what frequencies I'm trying to showcase. I'm just trying to get a real flat, even frequency for everything. And then, you dial it in after that point. You just start with the good signal path to start with.
Neutrality is key there.
Yeah. Yeah. And forever it was always, my amp, my specific guitar, because I just know that inside and out. So it's when I'm plugging in something's not right, I'm oh, that's weird, but I can tell.
Excuse me.
But there's something you brought up that I was thinking it might be good to talk about. One misconception or a spot where people have a hard time understanding is speaker cables. Balanced monitor cables or balance cables going into a PA. Do I need a speaker cable or do I need a balance cable? Or I've even seen people well, I'll just use an instrument cable out of my head into my cab. I'm that's not a speaker cable.
Yeah. Right? So I use, am I doing this right? I'm running, excuse me. I'm running my PreSonus interface, left and right monitor out into my sub, and then out from there on balance lines from the interface to the sub to the monitors.
That sounds right.
Pardon me. Man.
Yeah, where it gets funky is usually the guitar amp or bass amp into a cab with an unbalanced cable, mono, which is technically it would work, but it's not good for the amp potentially. So that's usually a wrong move. But you can be using a mono unbalanced cable where you should be using a TRS from an interface, but you're going to lose noise cancellation, possible signal loss, where you should be using a balanced. But that's where I get all sorts of people with questions, or they might be going the wrong direction as far as what they should be using.
Sorry, I got a I got a monster scratch in my throat. Trying to get rid of it. So I have a philosophy that I like to share with builders when looking for gear. So the product should adapt to the user and not the user to the product. Would you agree with that? And if you do, how do you apply that to your product?
The product should adapt to the user, but the user doesn't adapt to the product. I guess I don't agree with that.
Tell me. See, because what I really dig is when we, as a user, we don't always know what our issue is. However, we still do, we know what we like. So when we're a lot more clear on, excuse me, setting expectation on what we like, what we're looking to do, what we're looking to get out of our tone, man, I cannot get rid of this. Hold the phone. It's like a hair in the back. This will help numb. You're making me emotional.
I tend to do that.
Okay. Anyway, thank you. So, what I was ranting on about is we don't, as users and customers, we don't always know exactly what our problems are. We do know what we want. We do know what we like. So for me, I really dig the experiences with builders like yourself and others that open the door to say, here's what you can do to customize this to have the product adapt around you or to be built around you and not you around that product. Because there are many times personally, and I see this happen with other customers, where they will settle with something because they think that's all they can have. Or they haven't found builders like yourself that do open the door for customization. Whether that's even just color, it's still showing, hey, I've got this growth mindset, this open mind to hear you out, like what you like and how we can make this fit to the best of your specifications. And also here's all my knowledge of what I, Hank, know. So we can figure out, what actual issue we're trying to solve. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Gotcha. I mean, I guess, it goes, I hear what you're saying, but I also feel like finding the right tool to do a job is the paramount, not like the tool that does every job for everybody. Right. So, I agree with the idea of someone who wants a blue cable can come here and ask for a blue cable that's 3 foot with 2 right angle gold plugs and get it. And that's the tool for them. But I also don't want to make a cable that's we provide a cable for every single person because we've adapted to every possible things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't want it to get out of control. That's not sustainable.
When you say that, I immediately go to pedals. It's saying, okay, I make a fuzz pedal. Is that for everybody? Is that for the user? Or is that, tailored to the pedal? If I want a hammer to hammer, I'm going to buy a hammer.
True. Right?
And that's a tool I want to use, but I can't get a tool. It's I also want it to be a screwdriver and I also want it to be a table saw. So.
Well, I'm glad you disagree, by the way.
I think we're both right in a weird way there.
Oh yeah, totally. This is the whole point of, this is an interview, but this is also discussion. And I don't think discussions are very interesting if everyone's just thinking the same way. So I really appreciate hearing your perspective on that. I was on your site and just looking around. You have a few articles on there that you talk about different gear being used with your gear. One of note was an article, I believe a collaborative between you and Max, about the Cloudlifter CL1 inline mic activator and your special edition XLR cables that you made to go with it. And it got me thinking. Again, you can tell me, Cody, no, this is not what I want to do. But you just seem very much like that personality, that mindset, that kind of person, that kind of creative headspace that is looking for that next thing to do that makes sense for Rattlesnake, of course. And I was looking at it like, okay, yeah, the marketplace is saturated with a lot of the microphone activators. Examples are like SE Electronics, Soyuz, Triton Audio, Cloud. And I wonder what's next for that technology, though, because there was a certain point where that was very new, and it's still somewhat new to some people. It was new for me this year, because I wasn't really even bothering to know. Like, for my setup right now with this Rode, it's got preamps built in, and it's even more so meant to get along with their product and other third parties. But it got me thinking like more about like that magical touch of like what actually lifts the blanket off of the tone. For example, like 29 pedals. I believe you follow 29 pedals. Have you tried the Una?
No.
So so the Una ruined me, because ever since I tried it on my guitar signal, I can't have my signal be without it anymore. It was like I was listening to everything with my ears stuffed with a bunch of crap. And I can imagine that these mic activators do a similar thing. So, back on track here. Do you think that you would ever take a stab at your own version of that?
Not immediately. I'm always open to ideas of new products. I mean, we're always like pitching ideas and seeing like what other, people hear or feedback I get from customers. They wish we did this or that. Yeah, it's always possible. It's always just, it doesn't make sense dollars wise for us to tool up and do research and then what's the market. Yeah. So there's always that too, or there's a lot of cool ideas, but I'm like, man, I don't know if we'll sell any. They cost a lot of money to make, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's always, that's me with the no that I was telling you about. Saying like Amy would be like, that might be a good idea, but that's how we roll.
Okay. So I need to talk to Amy.
Yeah. Talk to Amy.
Okay. I'll set up a meeting with her. So I know that, I know you guys are, you're definitely one of my top in the world on I think I can say high fidelity.
Cool.
Premium, like high fidelity sound that we want to get out of when we are doing things with recording studio, with our instruments, with headphones. You have that headphone splitter. I also have that.
Yeah. And the extender too. That's popular.
Got to get that one. You're going to get me in trouble. I have too much gear. So, but you've also shown a lot of talent in repairing technology like guitar effects. And I can't help but like see this kind of like this twinkle in the back of your eye about pedals.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Don't get me wrong. The market is, it gets crazier and crazier every year. It did explode. That doesn't mean that you can't have your place in that.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious if you've been playing with anything, or if you've thought of doing any pedals as your part of your lineup, or even, you can even do a lot of what some people do is they have their primary business, but sometimes they will collaborate and just do a special release, and that's it. It's gone.
I mean, I have a major itch to scratch with pedals. I mean, the buffer originally was to scratch that itch. You know, it was like I had my components, I had a little circuit board, and you know, I get that feeling of like, oh, you know, I'm making a sort of a pedal, you know, but that's not quite there as far as like fulfillment in that building a pedal itch. I've definitely explored the idea of collaborating. I don't want to say anything with who, but there are a few people out there that I'm curious about that maybe we could do a Rattlesnake / something collaboration. Or there's also the idea of, you know, working with someone to just help me design a circuit and then we go through it. But again, it comes back to the tooling up thing. You know, it's like, I don't know how many pedals we'll sell, and you know how many boards we got to get printed, and how many, you know, what's the time to do that. But I mean, from day one, I've always wanted to do that.
What kind of circuits are you gravitating towards?
I mean, I was just talking about this today or yesterday. For whatever reason, I'm always an overdrive guy. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to like fuzz so much, and I've had so many fuzz pedals, and they're fun, but I'm always just really just way into overdrives. And I know there's a million overdrives, but I mean, there's a million of every pedal out there. But I do like overdrives. But
it is annoying how much fuzz is out there.
Oh yeah.
And even before the market really started going absolutely fucking crazy with how many pedal builders there have been before COVID and then into COVID, it got even more insane. I feel you on that. I hated how fuzz would constantly cut frequencies that I did not want it to do. Yeah. I was like, I didn't tell you to do that. Is there a blend knob or something? So I feel you. That means that the next time I'm around, I'm bringing you some fuzz that will make your mind melt.
Yeah, I'm always down with that.
It is there.
Yeah.
It took me a long while to do it though. The first thing that broke me was very unexpected. I was watching Rhett Shaw on YouTube. He has a band in his own like personal life as like his main day job, and then he also does a YouTube channel. And he had a video of him going to Macari's in Sussex, I believe, in United Kingdom. Anthony Macari and his family run that shop. It's been kind of like a famous milestone or landmark of the UK for guitar effects and famous musicians coming in and out of there. Anyway, David Main is a builder in the UK, I believe Yorkshire. He made the first pedal that I absolutely fell in love with. I couldn't even understand that something like that actually existed. And I had heard it because Rhett went over to Macari's. He was playing around with all these things. There was like the one that I loved, which was like maybe $200, and then all the way up to like the most amazing things that were like $8,000, $1,200. That cheap one though, that cheaper one in the cheaper enclosure, the circuit was so magical because there was this perfect set of components that meant face melting, tear your flesh off, low end, like just crushing.
Nice.
So it's almost like you can call it fuzz and fuzz distortion.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard that many times from people. Fuzz distortion is becoming a bigger theme and as an effect instead of it just being an expression. But when I had discovered that, I just lost it. That was it for me, and it was an expensive curiosity that I went down. But it also allowed me to find really great people that do make much more affordable versions of like when you see people online that are like, I'm making a color sound one knob fuzz. Some of those people that are making those, that's one of the most unbelievable pedals you could ever have on a board. You just set it and forget it. It's not overcomplicated.
Yeah.
One knob, good to go. I digress a bit. So I'll bring some stuff over for you for sure.
Cool.
I could even, ship some stuff over and let you try it out. Maybe it will spark some ideas.
Maybe I'll go fuzz.
I'm also equally into overdrive, but it was for quite some time. Overdrive was something that I liked more so out of a lot of amplifiers, and I didn't start finding a lot of pedal builders until you just could see, like as many McDonald's and Starbucks as there are. There's someone making a clone.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And there's so many good options there too. Selfishly, I would like to say back to that cloud lifter or just the general technology of a mic activator. Selfishly, I want to see you do that.
Yeah.
I think it's something that you could do. I could see that making a lot of sense in your product line. And maybe even being, excuse me, something that's more affordable. And even more so, I believe that you could make something that changes the game. That doesn't do what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I know I'm putting you in a weird position right now. I hope you don't mind.
That's all right.
So, do you have anything new coming up? You mentioned that you're gonna dabble in power supply or power cords.
Yeah, the cord, not the supplies, but yeah.
Anything else new that's coming up?
Well, we get a lot of custom requests, and a lot of the frequency of it is going to start putting into as like a regular product on the site. So we're going to start doing wireless transmitter cables. I mean, we get asked that all the time. And we make them all the time.
Yes.
So we have the TA4F or Shure microphones, and we do that all the time. So,
dude,
but that's that's a custom request. So, but now that will probably be on the website at some point.
I have no experience with using them, but
Yeah.
I cannot stand the elitist, shitty attitude that I see on communities about wireless technology. There was a really nice guy that he had something like 20 years of worldwide touring under his belt. So that guy's got to know a lot of what most people are needing and are gonna need. And he proposes an idea in front of this Facebook group and said, I don't expect anyone to solve this. I just want to start the conversation. Keep an open mind here. What does everyone think of doing either a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi technology that runs between all of your pedals in your pedal board and from guitar to pedal board to amp? And you can probably imagine the response to that idea and just bringing it up. It's just crazy negative, and I think that people need to really stop for a moment and just consider it. Just stop, forget your attitude, forget what you know or think is the best way to get tone, and just think about what's possible. Because to me, that guy, the way he's thinking, that's the kind of guy that you would want in your company to help innovate and help that business to grow even more. He just wanted to have a nice civil conversation, and it got shut down. It got so bad. The responses got so bad. He had to remove the whole thread and just lock it down. And I felt like I was kind of like this internet dad that it rolled in and posted and said, I don't know what the fuck happened here, but I'm reposting about this idea because I think it was fucking great, and you guys should talk about it. We should talk about this and think about what the possibilities are. Because for me, as a nerd in a lot of technology, I don't just know about gear. I know about Wi-Fi and Bluetooth from previous jobs, from just technology, phones and video games and all that. And I think it would be fucking amazing to have a pedal board that had ins and outs that were like the size of the inputs and outputs, but they had the ability to transmit to each other. So that, I mean, one of the things that would be huge is like, okay, I want to go and reconfigure my entire pedal board. I don't even have to take cables in and out. I can just move them, and then I can just make sure that on like say like a digital interface that everything is routing exactly the way I want it to. Or you don't even have to move them. You just leave them where they're physically sitting, but digitally they are rerouted and configured the way that you would want them to be, whether that was like using Bluetooth or Wi-Fi between them. I think that's a really exciting thing for people to consider. I know that's quite a tangent to kind of blow up off of from you talking about wireless transmitters, but I really think that's a thing. It's a really big thing that people can get into. But it's going to take some intelligence to actually develop that tech. I don't know what it would be. I always got those ideas thrown around in my head. So wireless transmission, power cable. Anything else? Do you have pink as an option for your?
We do.
Okay, I thought you did.
Yeah. We have a few ideas on the docket, but yeah, those are kind of the immediate ones. So
I want to propose a. Did you read all my questions when I sent them to you? You didn't. You didn't have to. I hope you did.
I glanced because I didn't want to.
Yes.
I didn't want to like.
I shouldn't have sent them to you.
It's all right.
Because I wanted it to be a secret or a surprise, but I think you should have the company vote, staff vote on this. But I'd like to propose a case candy item. You know what case candy is?
Yeah, we do a lot of case candy.
You know, every asshole on Reverb thinks that because they have the case candy with the pedal that they can charge $100 more. But anyway, so I wanted to propose that you could use the Rattlesnake egg envelope prank. And
well, we can put it up to a vote. You know, it's weird. I used to make those when I was living in Great Falls. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, that was a thing in grade school for sure.
So they're US made?
No, we literally made them in class.
Oh, you were just making them as a prank.
Yeah, it was a washer with a rubber band in an envelope. And when you open it, the rubber band untwines.
Yeah, you got the paper clip as the frame, rubber band, and a washer. Not too thick though. It can't be too thick because it won't move as fast. There's an art to it.
Yeah.
I think it would be really fun. Right.
Well, maybe in your next order you'll get one in there.
Even if you randomly put it, because you could actually wind it up and strategically place it in a way until they actually go to see the cable or whatever. Like, just take it or leave it.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I'll make a note.
I'll send you a link. They're very affordable on jeffbezos.com. So that's everything you have. All your secrets of what new is coming.
Immediate ones, yeah. Yeah, can't get all the secrets.
I wanted to ask you a personal pedal question.
Yeah.
So, if you had to choose, is it going to be the hot cake or the hot cake dual?
Or the double hot cake?
The double hot cake.
Yeah, I don't
single
play with,
or double hot cake.
I haven't played with the hot cake in a while, but I always loved the double hot cake.
You need to update your blog.
FX Bay? Yeah. I mean, it's that was a long time ago.
So that's not even. So you're about your intro talking about your preferred setup and what you like to do with overdrive and your
changed. Lots changed.
Your whole tone stack is different. What is your tone stack now?
Oh man, God, I'm thinking of
before
like,
amp, just guitar, anything before the amp with the guitar.
I mean, normally I go into Creation Audio Labs Holy Fire, into Earthquaker Devices, Dispatch Master.
This is totally different. Okay.
MXR Carbon Copy.
Oh, okay. I totally took you as I don't want to dabble in modulation guy.
No. I mean, and then I got a trem. I got a Black Cat tremolo, mini trem. That then goes into a Boss DD7, which is the pedal I've tried hundreds of times to get off my board, but it always comes back.
That's the single pedal delay?
Mm-hmm. I'm a simple guy. It's got more than 3 knobs on it. It starts to drive me nuts. So I love that one has 4. So maybe 4 knobs.
That's the one I always I notice people set and forget, or they're the extreme where they're always hunching over and going, freaking making
That's how I do it. I go either one of those two.
Okay.
I even have an option knob on the speed so I can control that with my foot. So
like a expression pedal?
No, it's an option knob. It like goes on the knob, and you can put your foot on it and turn it.
Did you make that?
No, that's the company option knob. You can put it on. You can put it on guitar. You can put it on amps, but normally it's on pedals, and you can use your foot to.
I've never heard of option knob.
Yeah, it's on my blog.
There's a really nice guy that I'm following that's made a. I haven't read your whole damn blog, okay? There's a really nice guy that's making these like single expression knobs. They'll go right into the expression auxiliary input of your pedal.
Oh yeah, they're rollers.
So
right?
And you can it makes it so you can have a knob to the expression if you wanted to fuck with it that way.
That's cool.
It's not like always going to be ideal. I think it's more for that, hey, I want to hunch over and tweak shit, real time kind of fun, but certainly not if I don't want to bend over and go and play with stuff.
Gotcha.
Where was I?
My signal chain.
Yeah, your signal chain. Is that it?
Strymon, Blue Sky.
So you're not doing where'd the TS9 go?
It's not in there anymore.
I was going to ask you, like, what was up with that massive stack? Because you were saying like hotcake into the TS9, and I would never think an overdrive into an overdrive.
Yeah, I mean that's why I like the double hotcake's great because you can stack those. One hotcake stacks into the other one, and then you can push a button and turn them both on, or each one of them's on. And then there was a presence knob for both of them that they're on. So that's why I like the double hotcake. I still have it. It's great.
But you don't. It's not on the board.
Everything's changed since then. Different guitar, different amp. Yeah, all of it's changed.
Was this Amy's decision?
No.
Does she also help you make decisions on your pedal board?
I wish. No.
Okay, is that it on the board?
That's it on the board. Yeah.
Into what amp?
Matchless HC30, Avatar 2x12 cabinet, 212 open back.
Look at you, fancy.
It's awesome.
I've wanted to try a Matchless. Is your gear here or at your house?
I actually do have my gear here.
I don't know if I should be asking you that.
I've been a huge Matchless fan for a long time. The bandmate had a DC30. I used to hear it for years. It used to just drive me nuts, but I had a good amp. Also, I used to play Rivera. That was probably the amp in the effects bay. Great amp. Still have that.
Yeah.
And then I was on an exploration for a new amp, and I bought a Bandmaster 1967 Bandmaster head, and it was unbelievable, but no headroom, and it had to be totally dimed, and I was really concerned about not getting loud enough for a drummer, and there's zero clean to do that, right? So I was like, God, if I could just turn that on for leads, that would be amazing, right? And then my friend says, why don't you just borrow my DC30 for a while, just a couple weeks? I'm not playing right now.
I gotta hear this.
And then it was like within an hour after he dropped it off the house, I called him up and I'm like, I gotta buy one. I don't know what it takes, but I gotta buy one.
DC30, how many watts?
That's 30 watt.
And
Class A.
What tube?
EL84s. 12AX7s.
EL84.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of EL34. I tend to gravitate towards 6V6 6L6, KT66, KT88. My KT88 is my favorite.
Nice.
I think you should also. I would really like to hear that DC30 head.
Yeah.
I'm curious if it is anything like the Science Amplification Mother.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you heard of my boy Alex back in Seattle?
Yeah, I know. I'd never played that amp, but I know that amp. Yeah,
You need to.
that's cool.
His Mother amp specifically, they're all great amps, but that Mother is definitely the most versatile for even clean to as heavy as you want to go, and you can't take it the furthest it can go because it will destroy you. It will be too loud. You would ruin the venue
Gotcha.
or shake things off the wall, piss off your audience. But I just love that it loves anything that you want to throw at it. And it sounds like that DC30 is also just like, I will embrace what you want to put in here.
It's not the most pedal friendly.
No?
I think you got to kind of finesse it through a little bit. So it's like it's got its own character. So yeah,
You need a science amp then.
Yeah.
Alex,
I don't know.
sponsor me. And because I'm going to get you other people to buy an amp from you.
Cool.
Yeah, he's got other stuff. Check it out. Fantastic. I know that everyone should also focus on your stuff too. But you're going to have to make an amp to compete as well.
Yeah. 2024.
So people can find you at Rattlesnake Cables on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep. Facebook. Same. Yep.
So it's pretty much facebook.com/Rattlesnake Cables.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot to ask you. Well, real quick. So people can also find you at www.rattlesnakecables.com. But why Rattlesnake Cables?
So yeah.
Or why Rattlesnake?
Yeah.
Not cables, of course.
Well, I did have a name a long time ago that was like, okay, it was nothing fancy at all. And I wanted to have something that was a tip of the hat to Missoula. I also wanted to have something that was genre non-specific. I didn't want death cables and a jazz guy doesn't want to have it.
I don't know if Rattlesnake is non-genre specific.
You kidding me? Country guy?
Well,
Metal guy? Rock guy?
Okay. Well, the Washingtonian west side of me is constantly thinking, oh shit, that's like hair metal people and metal people in general, just thinking about snakes, and they just go off in that tangent.
Yeah.
Okay, country.
Country.
Tex-Mex. Does Missoula have more rattlesnakes than anywhere else in Montana? Is that like a famous
snakes? Like
No.
the actual
rattlesnakes? Yeah,
no,
the actual thing.
No, east side has got way more. But there is the Rattlesnake Wilderness that's right outside here. There's Rattlesnake Creek that goes right into the Clark Fork here in Missoula.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's the upper and lower Rattlesnake region, which is where a lot of people here live.
Have you ever hunted a rattlesnake before?
No.
Would you?
Hunt one?
Yes. If you eat it, I haven't hunted anything yet, but I know that if I hunt, I would use every single thing in that animal. I would.
Oh yeah.
I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, we'll just do this for sport.
Yeah, I'm scared of rattlesnakes. I wouldn't want to run into them in the wild. That's why I don't like them. And if I saw one that was in danger, I wouldn't have a problem like destroying it. But
You wouldn't embrace it for the inspiration?
it all depends on the situation.
Okay.
I
think that I'm going to find out this season when it's like the safest to hunt them.
I don't think you hunt them. I don't think there's a term
This is a thing you can do. I
Really?
promise you.
There's open season.
Everyone in Montana
Hunt something.
You can correct me all you want. this is a thing. I don't even think I don't think it's like where you have to, if it's a tag or anything. I'm pretty sure that you like, I've heard that people get like a 410 shotgun. It's much smaller caliber and use that to pop the head and the meat. I do know that rattlesnake tastes delicious. I've had rattlesnake hot dogs at a really cool place over in Chicago.
Wow.
I can't even say what place that was, but shout out to Kuna's Corner though. If you're ever in Chicago, go to Kuna's Corner. It's all burgers themed off metal bands.
Yeah, that's right by Albini's. Electrical Audio is just
his studio.
block away.
Yeah.
I've been in there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't remember what burger I had, but
See, okay, so
I've been in there. Yeah.
My favorite is I still think that my favorite is the Slayer one. Just because
Nice.
what they choose. I think it had like something like ghost pepper or habanero. I like
Nice.
spice.
Cool.
Okay. So we will go hunting.
Okay.
So let's come back with my best friend Brandon.
Got to bring lots of stuff. Some fuzzes.
Yeah,
A 410.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring a collection of fuzzes that I think that you need to hear. I will ask if you've heard them already, but anything that you haven't, I would love to bring over. Before we wrap things up, this is where I would like to introduce a new part of the show. Before I do, I want to very much thank you, Hank,
Thank you.
for being here, or for joining the show, inviting me here in your personal shop space and letting me slow things down for the day. I know that's really hard. And I mean, I remember, I also recall in your interview with High Gain that you didn't really suffer. You got quite lucky with the timing of things, through COVID. So you guys really did have inventory and your momentum just continues to speed up. So awesome. But I understand that something like this, even coming in here for a moment, slows you down, and that's one less customer that might be getting something. So I really appreciate that. I can't thank you enough. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. This is a new part of the show. I'm gonna just call it Science of Sound Radio, where I feature a single from an artist I'd love to share with you all at the end of every episode. This episode is Seattle, Washington's based band Sandwriter with their new single Alia. John Wisniewski, I hope I said that right. That's from their new album, and Velitration, also hope I said that right. It's releasing March 3rd, 2023, which you can now pre-order on sandwriter.bandcamp.com. I'll also include links in the episode description below. Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and thanks again, Hank. And thank you, Max, in the background, doing the job that you do. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on our latest episode. To like, follow, and subscribe to our audio and video podcast, check us out at scienceofsound.us, at Science of Sound on YouTube, and at Science of Sound Official on Instagram. You can also email me directly at cody.lane@scienceofsound.us. Get lost in the sound with us next time on
Science of Sound.